That's it. There's nothing left to do. Let's go. Go finish it. I kind of wish I had made notes for myself. I don't even know what to talk about. I can usually talk forever about like getting these platinum trophies, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna talk about with this one. I'm probably gonna talk about the series as a whole, I think. I'm literally walking right by the fast travel point because I'm too busy thinking about what I'm gonna say. Every heart like it. Save just in case. I don't know. Save and save often. It's a bad habit. Alright, Kiri. My kings, are you ready? There's no going back after this. Level 1. Let's do it, Kiri. When we plucked you from your timeline, there was a caveat. Oh yeah, let me explain that for a second. Okay, so the player characters are a cat and a dog. And the main enemies of the game are the king cat and the king dog. So the player characters, they are the king cat and the king dog, just from a different timeline where they weren't assholes. They brought them to this timeline, a la BioShock Infinite, to defeat the bad kings and sit on the throne as the good king. And we did that. We've like defeated the bad kings. It's why Alias was talking about, you know, this is the only timeline where unity like triumph. Wish we could do that in real life. Like you have a politician that's kind of shit, but you go to another timeline where he's not shit and you replace him. That'd be awesome. We had to return you to that exact moment to prevent a paradox. Won't remember any of this too. Side effects of time travel, I'm afraid. Anytime you're ready, my kings. Your Majesty, don't go yet. We haven't said our goodbyes. We'll miss y'all. Sniff. Oh, damn it. I hope the audio is mixed well, because I haven't been recording this. Eesh. Oh, well. The hot dog we made together was truly a tasty one. Aw, scratch it all. I'll regret it if I don't do this. Pause together. All Latin. So was a success? The King's Blade was reforged? Yes, only one artifact remains now. What? And now the apocalypse shall be upon us. Cat Quest 3. I'm fucking hyped. I'm hyped. I'm hyped. Cat Quest 3. Oh man. I'm not recording this. So whatever the audio is, that's just how it's going to be, I guess. Oh well, I think the audio's fine. I mean, I'm looking at the levels right now. I'm in the yellow, and the game audio is pretty safely in the green. Okay. Yeah, but so sometimes, like, when I export it, sometimes the audio overall is kind of low. Like, I edit with headphones in, so, like, it always sounds good to me, but sometimes when I take my headphones out and play through the speakers, it's a lot quieter, and you hear different things. Whatever. Not here to talk about audio, we're here to talk about Cat Quest. Okay. Okay, little bit of background. So, I got the Platinum for Cat Quest 1 and 2 over the course of, like, a week. I did not expect to enjoy these games as much as I did. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. I had more fun with Cat Quest 1 and 2 than I've had with a lot of RPGs. I'm about to say in recent years. I wouldn't go that far. But it's been a minute since I've had this much fun with a game. Just pure unadulterated fun. It's full of kitties. Yeah, so Cat Quest 1 they're all cats, but in Cat Quest 2 there's dogs. And a dog is your friend. It's like so natural. Kitties and puppies, exactly. It's awesome. It's perfect. Oh. But first let's talk about Dragon Quest. Okay, so I'm a kind of an old school RPG fan. I love me the older Final Fantasies. I love me the first 3 Dragon Quests. So Dragon Quest came out in Japan in like the mid 80s. I forget exactly when. It predated Final Fantasy, and Final Fantasy came out in 87, so probably 85 or 86. And Dragon Quest is super simple. You are a knight, and your mission is to save the princess and defeat the dragon wizard that like kidnapped her. It's both a dragon and a wizard. It's kind of weird. Anyway, that's the whole game. Like, once you're strong enough to defeat the dragon, that's it. That's the end of the game. Most of the game is just grinding to like defeat the dragon. And it's a pretty grindy game. Like, the grind is the game. So Dragon Quest 1 is like really nothing special, but it's like one of the first ever console style RPGs. And almost every JRPG like out today owes Dragon Quest 1 something. Dragon Quest 2 is sort of the same thing. It's a bit more linear. Dragon Quest 1 is completely open. The only thing stopping you from going straight to the end of the game is the fact that enemies are just going to completely wreck you before you ever get there. So it's like beef gating. Dragon Quest 2, you have a party with you. I think 3 characters total. And Dragon Quest 3 is really crazy because Dragon Quest 3 is a prequel to the first 2. But it's not clear until the end of the game that you're actually playing heroes from the past that are referenced in Dragon Quest 1 and 2. It's wonderful. The first 3 Dragon Quests make an almost perfect story. They're a really good trilogy of games. Yeah, so in the first game, they mention like this great hero that was able to slay the dragon in the past, and they say, you know, you should like look up to that person. You should channel that energy to like defeat the dragon. And some of the best equipment in the game is like that past hero's like sword and stuff like that. Well, in Dragon Quest 3, you're playing as the character, and at the very end of the game, they start calling you by the name of that old hero, and one of the last weapons you get is like that sword you could get in the first game. So like, if you're a fan and you've been playing all the Dragon Quests, you get to the end of Dragon Quest 3 and you're like, holy shit, like Dragon Quest 3 is like the legendary story that they talk about in Dragon Quest 1 and 2 so lovingly and so like admiringly. Which was kind of cool. I mean, this is like 1988, you know what I mean? Like this is still like, you know, Mario Brothers domain. Like that kind of story would be pretty good now, I think. But back then it was like, oh, it blew people's minds. So Cat Quest 1 is very much a love letter to those old school JRPGs in structure. In Cat Quest 1, you can basically go anywhere. There's a few places you can't go for story purposes, but as soon as you start the game, like 70-80% of the world is open to you. The only thing stopping you is the level of what you're fighting. Like in Cat Quest 1, you could very easily go into a dungeon that's like level 75 and you're like level 3. And it's not going to stop you. Like you can go in there and you can try to fight them if you want. It's not impossible, but you probably don't want to, you know... The game would say it's not impossible. You'll probably do it. But the game's not going to stop you. If like, let's say you're level 10 and you go into level 20 cave, like, okay. Go for it. You do you. And if you can clear the cave, you get a piece of armor that makes, you know, the next cave easier, or the next dungeon easier. So it's very much a dungeon crawler. And it's very much in the spirit of those early Dragon Quest games, where your goal is very simple. Your goal is to like beat somebody who's really strong, and the entire game is essentially you leveling up to beat that enemy. Cat Quest 1, you have to defeat 4 dragons. The first one's pretty easy, it's kind of the intro one. But Dragon 2, 3, and 4 are pretty challenging. And as soon as you find out you have to beat those dragons, you can go and fight them, and you're probably going to get your ass handed to you. Ideally, what you should be doing is you should be going into dungeons, getting better equipment, beating the enemies there, doing quests to level up. It's a pretty basic game. There really isn't too much of a story until like the very end. I don't know why I'm talking about Cat Quest 1 so much. But, okay, so Cat Quest 2, on the other hand, is a horse of a different color. It's... the storytelling in Cat Quest 2 is way more focused. It's more linear than Cat Quest 1. Eventually the world does open up and you can kind of go anywhere, but it doesn't open up until decent ways into the game. Once you get water walking, which water walking doesn't happen until like maybe 2/3 of the way into the game, then you can pretty much go anywhere you want. So within the first 15 minutes of Cat Quest 1, you can go literally anywhere. Because you're on one continent. But in Cat Quest 2, there's a lot of islands, there's a lot of separation, and there's like the only way to get there is using water walking. Also in Cat Quest 1, you eventually gain the ability to fly, and you can just fly over everything. You don't get that in Cat Quest 2, unless I missed something. I don't think I missed anything. But Cat Quest 2 is a wonderful game. The combat is solid, the level up system is solid. With the money you collect, you can basically you can choose to upgrade your weapons and armor or upgrade your spells. I highly recommend upgrading your spells. It's a significantly better investment than upgrading armor that's probably gonna get replaced within like a couple minutes. But let me talk about the story with Cat Quest 2. Cat Quest 2, I think, takes itself a bit more seriously, but it's still drowning in cat puns and dog puns, and it never would assume to be these like grand operatic storytelling, this like epic, you know, theatrical narrative. It's just got a little bit more meat, and it's got a little bit more lore behind it than the first game does. The first game is literally nothing but cat puns and fourth wall breaks, and the only serious part of the story comes at the very end. So minor spoilers for Cat Quest 1. At the very beginning of Cat Quest 1, you see this figure. He's the bad guy, and he kidnaps this cat. And it's your sister. So the point of Cat Quest 1 is you got to save your sister from this like awful person. And he tells you, it's like, if you want your sister, you're gonna have to kill all these dragons. And then you can have your sister back. So you're like, okay, fine. So you kill these dragons, and you meet with the antagonist. And the antagonist basically says, like, you never had a sister. Like, that memory, that thing you see at the beginning of the game was a false memory implanted in you by the antagonist. And his goal throughout the game was to get you strong enough to defeat dragons. Because he wanted to use you. You basically say, like, I'm not going to be used, and blah, blah, blah. And you fight him, and you defeat him. In this game, you saw kind of toward the end when you fight Alias, he says that he wants to basically create an army. He wants to create pets that can fight for him, but it's not clear why. In Cat Quest 1, he was trying to do that with the player character. In Cat Quest 2, he's trying to do that with the kings of these kingdoms. And he very nearly succeeds, but the mages, using time magic, basically go into another timeline, and they take the kings from those timelines and send them back into their world, and those are the player characters. So the through line through both games is Alias, who it's not really explained who this guy is. He's trying to create these like these fighters for him, to fight on his behalf for whatever reason. It's also Cat Quest 2 also seems to take place a couple hundred years after Cat Quest 1. I love how Story stories the games are. Oh my god, yeah. There's some lore to it. It's not just a bunch of nonsense. I like it. So there are some characters in Cat Quest 2 that are actually in Cat Quest 1. So Kit, the young lady cat you see in the lower left hand part of the screen, it's implied that she is like old. Like she's been around for a long time. Same thing with Hato Doggo. Hato Doggo and Kit both made the Kingsblade like years before. It's not made clear how long ago it was, but she was like, "Yeah, I was there. I made it. Don't I look kind of young though? You know." So there's some lore right there. Like, oh, you know what's it's that leave that little thread out there to make people speculate. What's her true story? You know. And the governor, the cat you see in the background with the mustache, he talks about his great 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 grandfather, who was in the first game. So now you have like a timeline. It's not clear how long cats live, but they live for a decent amount of time. So the first and second game are in the same universe, if maybe in a different timeline. So it's all like it sort of works, but it works. The story works. It's fine. But what I love about this story, and I think more games should do this, is they don't tell you everything. They tell you just enough to understand the plot, but they also leave a lot of things open-ended. I probably shouldn't sit here and be like, Cat Quest 2 takes pointers from Lord of the Rings or J.R.R. Tolkien, but it kind of does. One of the things that make Tolkien and Lord of the Rings in general so captivating is because for everything that is explained, there's tons more that isn't. Like, where do the dwarves come from? You know? Like, in the Silmarillion, you have the elves that tell their own stories about where the dwarves come from, but apparently the Valar have different versions of where the dwarves came from. And in the Silmarillion, which basically tells the entire history of Middle-earth up to and including the end of the Third Age, they never say where hobbits come from either. There's this pageantry about where the elves came from and how the elves were like Eru's like chosen race, and where the men came from, and even where the orcs came from, and the hobbits just aren't mentioned. Is that a plot hole? Not really, because the authors of the Silmarillion, like the elves, don't really care where the hobbits came from. And the hobbits themselves believe themselves to be descended from men. So the elves may or may not even see a difference between like hobbits and men. But like it's not a plot hole, it's just something that's not explained. Same thing in Cat Quest 2. Like, how long has it really been since Cat Quest 1? Does Cat Quest 1 and 2 take place in the same universe? When you have time travel, like, what are the different timelines? Was Cat Quest 1 in a different timeline than Cat Quest 2? I can't believe I'm sitting here talking about the lore of a game called fucking Cat Quest. But it's not bad. I'd even go far as to say I enjoy the story of Cat Quest 1 and 2 more than Horizon Forbidden West. It's not overly sanctimonious, it doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's not afraid to have a little bit of fun. Bottom line, this is a really fun series, and I'm glad I played it. I'm glad I spent the $5 to get Cat Quest 1 and 2. I had a fucking blast. And I'm really hoping that the audio is mixed well, and I don't have to... I mean, I'm gonna upload it anyway, you know. Really should start making thumbnails for these things. I'm getting close to like 15, 16 platinum pops on YouTube. Just because I've got to put all of them up there, you know, for posterity's sake, really. I think that's it. Glad you spent the time. Thank you, Zagru. Thank you very much. Okay, future Casimir Z, just like stop it here. Alright, there we go.